Hello and welcome again to Casual Magic. This time it was the Store Championship Dominaria. What should I do for this? Man, I don't really play in store events ever, so... Oh, I happened to actually find one of these on a shelf at Barnes & Noble of all places by accident. It's like, oh, that exists. Okay, well, let's see. Maybe I'll buy this and I'll play with it when I get back. Let's see. Hazoret Aggro. Play an aggressive game with hasty creatures and burn spells, turning your extra cards into more direct damage when the game goes long. Keep your opponent on the defensive and finish the game before they can even get started. Cool. That sounds very doable. So this came with, let's see, a quality insert, the quick reference guide, the deck, the sideboard, a little red die, which I've got around here somewhere. This regular old 20-sided die. And this fun instructional guide, Challenger deck. Now that you have a ready-to-play 60-card deck with a 15-card sideboard, what's next? Check out your local game store. It's a great place to meet friends, play Magic, and test out your deck against the competition. Sure. Yeah, okay, great. I will take this deck and try it against the competition in a store championship, because why not? So for this, I made a couple substitutions based on a couple of cards I own. So I took out 2 Magma Sprays, and I took out all the lands, and I threw in some of my revised lands just because I like playing with them better. So as far as the deck went, actually I'll get to the deck in a second. So this is a store championship. So first and foremost, they gave you a promo for playing. From Core Set 2019, Demon of Catastrophes. There, it's focused. So 2 and 2 black for a 6/6 demon. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. And oh, by the way, it has flying and trample. So it's a 6/6 with flying and trample. So it's got about 8 mana's worth of stuff for 4 mana, with the only drawback that you have to sacrifice something. But honestly, who cares? I mean, I'm getting basically an 8 value out of this for 4 plus a creature, so probably 5. Sure. I love that power level. So yeah, why not? So as far as the deck itself, there's the 4 Bomat Couriers, which is a nice little 1/1 haste. Get it out on the field, and then every time it's attacking, it's exiling a card. And then at some point, when it's completely overloaded, if my opponent can't get down something fast enough, then I can use a red, discard my hand, which by that point might not necessarily be hardly any cards at all or nothing useful. Sacrifice this and then get all the cards exiled underneath it. So pretty much every time this would attack, just take the top card off my library, put it underneath, and eventually start racking up a stack if my opponent couldn't get a creature out fast enough. So a very useful card. Fanatical Firebrand, a nice little one that you could at least get out for turn 1 haste creature, 1/1, and then eventually sack it to do 1 damage. Soulscar Mage, the main thing why this turned out to be useful really was if a source you controlled would deal non-combat damage to a creature an opponent controls, put that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead. So because of this, then I was able to use burn spells in combination with this activity to put 4 -1/-1 counters on a Hazoret and just have it go away. Where it's like, oh, there's the -1/-1 counters, and it ceases to be. Doesn't matter that it's indestructible, it's just no longer a creature and just shrivels and goes away. So definitely versatile in that application. Karizev Skyship Raider, it's okay. I mean, at least you get the monkey token out and put some pressure on, and then in case you need a blocker at some point, it's there. And Crop Crasher, great for a little bit of control, just being able to exert it so that way a target creature can't block, and at least the 3/2 did put some good pressure on the board. Hazoret, obviously. Oh, by the way, I have another Hazoret, the Invocation version of it, just because I got this whenever it was last year at some point when it was basically like a big sale, and before it spiked on I think the first Pro Tour where I got it for something like $20. I was like, that's a broken card. It's very cool art. You know what? I'm going to get that because I think this is a great card. And then sure enough, it went out of control, and it's definitely proved its worth. It's a great card. Ugh. Glorybringer, sadly, there's only one in here, but it's a great card. That way, at least when it attacks, you can exert it to do 4 damage to a non-dragon creature an opponent controls. Then getting into burn spells. Got Force Shock to do 2 damage. 2 Magma Sprays, which really it's just to do mainly the exiling if a creature would die. That way I could combine this with other burn spells and then eventually get rid of something, let's say like a pesky Phoenix that I don't want to see anymore. Lightning Strikes, pretty much essential in this format. Couple of Abrades, mainly to destroy artifacts. Carry Zev's Expertise to be able to gain control of creatures and use them against my opponents. Chandras. I have 2 of them. One came with the deck. One came from... spoilers. A bulk bin. That's right. One came with this, and the other one came in a bulk bin that I got for 10 cents. Yeah. I'll get around to that video some other day. Then 4 Sun-Scorched Deserts, which are nice just because little by little, every bit of damage counts. So getting 3 of these things out is equivalent to a lightning bolt. So cool. Little by little, work away at my opponents. And then 23 lands. As far as the sideboard went, the main cards that I used were Chandra's Defeat. In a mirror matchup, I sideboarded these things in, and they worked beautifully. They weren't perfect because I couldn't draw them all fast enough, and the guy had too many answers, but they do work well in a mirror matchup. I did take 1 mountain out. It started with 24 lands, but eventually I was playing with 23 and doing just fine. Harsh Mentor, whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact creature or land on the battlefield, if it isn't a mana ability, Harsh Mentor deals 2 damage to that player. There really wasn't much that I was going against as far as activated abilities, so in the end I just took them out, and I don't think I played with them more than about 2 games. Pia Nalar in this deck doesn't necessarily go that well. It is nice with the Bomat Courier, but I saw an opponent play with a much better use of it. Key to the City, just for a little bit of unblockable stuff, and then eventually Sentinel Totem for some graveyard hate, which wasn't really an issue. So the first opponent I played against was a mirror match. My opponent had the basically mono-red Hazoret deck, except his was a real version. So it had 4 Glory Bringers, 4 Hazorets. It had the pesky Phoenix in there that when it dies, it creates a token, and then it comes back the next turn. So basically I had to kill it by exiling it, or as soon as the token came out, then immediately zap that and kill the token. That way the Phoenix wouldn't come back. Very, very good deck, and I lost 1-2 in that. My second opponent was playing a mono green deck with some big stompy dinosaurs, Steel Leaf Champion, which one is it? The Verdant Gear Hulk, so that way it can come out as an 8/8. And for that, pretty much my only answer against that was somehow being able to sack some creatures, put some -1/-1 counters on it, get it down to about a 6/6, and then not die as I'm just trying to speed through with burn spells and a last little bit of damage to kill my opponent before he just comes from behind to stomp me. Somehow 1-2-1 against him. I did learn my lesson, though, after the second game. Take out the Llanowar Elf immediately. As soon as that thing hits the board, just zap it. And that kind of screws up his game plan because he's all about kind of ramping into turn 3 and ramping into turn 3. And if I can just zap that and then meanwhile just have my little haste creatures pinging and pinging and pinging, then I could sometimes get in with probably 7 or 8 damage before he could finally get an answer down that would stick. So that's a word to the wise if you're playing against one of these green decks. My third opponent was playing a black-white Vampire Life Gain deck. I want to say it's Authority of the Councils is the one where the opponent's creatures come in tapped, and then when I forget, when a land comes into play, then you gain a life. And I could just race to get him down to about 5, and then with that, then little by little he starts coming back. Suddenly my haste creatures are pointless, and he's just digging stuff out of the graveyard and going back. And I thought about putting Graveyard Hate in, but in the end I just stuck to my guns and just thought I am going to race him to the end, and I don't care about his graveyard. I'm just all about spells. And so I just loaded up on spells, and I didn't care about creature damage. I just basically took it all and constantly just was, shock and lightning strike against him, and somehow pulled out a win 2-1. Yay. Moving on to my last opponent, then he was playing I think it was basically like a mono black kind of board wipe plus saga plus heavy creature removal deck. So he had no problem throwing down board wipes or the black saga that makes you sacrifice a creature, and doing very, very well, I'm guessing, against previous opponents who were going creature heavy. However, in my deck, it's primarily spells, and my creatures are tiny and wimpy, and they kind of serve a purpose early on, and then soon enough I'm sacrificing them to get a bunch of cards in my hand, or sacrificing them to do a point of damage, or they're just like a little 1/1 or a 1/2 and they die and I don't care. And then it's just spell, 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 spell. So he did have answers, but it just didn't really match up well against my deck, and it totally worked out in my favor, where I was getting mana screwed in the second game, but in the third game, he basically got stuck at 3 lands. He wasn't doing anything, and then finally, by the time he got something out, it was too late, and I killed him, and he was kind of annoyed that it didn't work out, but that's Magic. So, in the end, as far as the opening round went, I went 3-1. I was crossing my fingers. I was like, well, hopefully I can do well enough. And yes, whoosh, top 8, woo! I got a piece of plastic. Yeah, check it out. It holds cards, unlike all the other boxes that I held cards in. So, all right, cool. I got a product. I made a top 8. That's cool for a memory, more so than the box itself, at least to know that I did it. And to top it off, I actually made a top 4. So it was a small enough event that they said, okay, you're one person short to have this basically be a real event, so we're not going to have a top 8. We're just going to do standings after top 8, put out the deck boxes to those people here, and then we're going to do a playoff for the top 4, and then that's going for the extra price support for the packs, and then first place gets the playmat. And so I'm number 4, and I'm going against number 1 undefeated, and I actually felt really good because there were 3 undefeated players and then me. One thing that helped was the one person I lost to was one of the undefeated guys, so that's the only reason why I got in as number 4. The downside to that, though, is that meant that the number 1 seed is the guy that I played against in the opening round. So it's like, oh no, all right, so I know exactly what his deck is doing again. That time, though, right off the bat, game 1, Chandra's defeat, 4 of them in there, and I was doing reasonably well holding my own, knowing that if he could bring out a Glory Bringer, that I could get rid of it, no problem. So I didn't have to worry about some giant flyer. Just pretty much as soon as it hit the battlefield, Chandra's defeat, it's gone. I don't have to worry about it exerting and blowing up anything. The Hazorets, I didn't necessarily fear that much because of being able to put -1/-1 counters on it, and if not completely destroying it, then somewhat neutering it as a creature so it wasn't completely beating my face in. And at that point, he's like, well, I could swing and do nothing, or I can pitch a card and do 2 damage. I guess I'll do 2 damage and wait a turn. So it worked out well. went 1-1, got to the third game, and I got down to a point where I had him at 5 life. And I knew based on being able to sack the monkey to do 1 point of damage and my Hazoret, then I could do, or no, not my Hazoret, my lightning strike, then I could do 4 points of damage. So all I needed was 1 point of damage somehow, some way, but I wasn't sure how to do it. So I'm just sitting there kind of biding my time, hoping to draw into something. And then he gets out another Glorybringer, blows up my last defender, and he's swinging at me with 11 points of damage. And just to be sure, I think he shocked me a couple of times, so that way I was at 7. So I knew I was dead unless there was some miracle I could get at that point. However, I can't draw on my opponent's turn with a red deck typically. So I was screwed. I was like, and I just kind of sighed. I was like, okay, just for fun, here's the lightning strike for 3. I'll use, or before the monkey gets blown up, I'm going to sack it. I'm going to do 1 point of damage to you. There, your life total is at 1, and I die. And we shook hands, and I said, now I really want you to win the whole thing. Try and drag my average up some more. And he made it to the end, and he won it all, and he got the champion playmat, and I was happy for him. So it was fun. And then also because it was a low turnout, that also meant that the top 4 got an additional whoosh, Demon of Catastrophes. Yay! So I actually got 2 of those things. Super cool. And then finally, as prize support, I got 2 packs. Yay! And I don't know. Let's just open them up now. What the hell? All right, I'll do odds and evens. Evens. So I'm gonna open up Karn first. They asked me if I opened up my packs, and I said after the modern or the whatever. God, what is it? Masters 25 box. I wasn't too thrilled to be opening packs right away. I wanted to wait. Okay, so I've got Embolus's Clutches, Memorial to Glory. Oh, wait, that's only 2 uncommons, right? Must mean I have a legendary one. Woodland Cemetery, very cool. Oh, I will definitely get some use out of that. And, hey, Idle's Cinderwind. I don't have this one. Flying Haste, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizard you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Cool. That'll be interesting. And Stepperling. Alright, and sorry, I don't know why I had a technical glitch there and for some reason lost the second pack. So here's a super quick recreation. Oh, look! Easy to open packaging. Let's see. Champion of the Flame, Weight of Memory. Isolated Chapel, so lands. Alright. Foil Island, always cool. And Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. And another island just to double island it. So, interesting. Alright, well, this is everything that I got when I went to the event. I hope you did as equally well or better. To be honest, I was expecting this thing to be some sort of hardcore, like very, very competitive event, but it actually wasn't. It was more of a pre-release type atmosphere. It's just that people brought their decks, but it was very laid back at the store I went to. Kind of had a casual atmosphere. I mean, there are, people missing triggers and saying, "Oh, can I redo this one thing? I made a mistake here." I mean, it was very, very friendly as we're just kind of like fumbling along through it. So that at least made it more enjoyable because everyone's trying to be fair. There wasn't like one hardcore intense player trying to screw everybody over. And the guy that I lost to twice is a very, very nice old man. I mean, like full gray beard and just a pleasure to talk to. I'm glad that he won. I would much rather see someone like that win than, someone who's just like completely intense and and just not there to necessarily have fun or be educational, but just there to make your life miserable because they're the best and they deserve this. I don't really like that type of player. So I highly recommend it. If you can go to a store championship, just go to try. If for some reason they have other challenger decks in the future, I recommend finding the equivalent of the Hazoret one. Just find whichever one is overpowered, try and buy it for MSRP, show up, and have fun. And to be honest, you'll probably do at least that well because this was a very good deck. So that's it. I'm kind of curious how you did. If anyone else participated in the store championship who watches my channel. By the way, thanks for all the recent subscribers. That was great. It's kind of been a recent explosion recently with new subscribers, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And in the meantime, I am starting my kind of mini vacation here. So I have a lot of videos to edit over the next few weeks. So I have a bunch of stuff in the pipeline, and you are going to see my massive, kind of insane summer project. You're gonna kick out of it. You are you're gonna laugh and be confused at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, yeah, that's it for now. And until next time, good luck.